Would you let a high school girl stay at your place? Imagine you're walking home from a long day of work and you find a girl in the middle of the street with nowhere to go and asks you to spend the night at your place. And what if she offered sex in exchange? What would you do? Well, the anime Higehiro explores that possibility. It starts with our main character Yoshida on his way home from drinking after getting rejected by his boss Goto. And on his way home, he finds a high school girl under a lamppost. Her name is Sayu. She asks to stay at Yoshida's place and offers to sleep with him in exchange, for which he declines, but he lets her stay. After their conversation the next morning, it turns out Sayu's from Hokkaido and has been running away from home for 6 months. Yoshida decides to let her stay at his place as long as she does house chores. And that's pretty much the premise. I know the story sounds like a case, I'm not gonna lie, but it's actually a really great anime but has been dismissed due to the weird plot, which is why I think this anime deserves more attention. I think the biggest reason why it's been dismissed is because of the title. After being rejected, I shaved and took in a high school runaway. It makes you expect the worst, because there's a lot of degenerate shows out there. So when Higehiro came out, people didn't even give it a chance. But what's funny is this anime is literally the opposite of that. So give me a chance, and let's dive in, shall we? What I love about this story is that it really makes you question what the right decision is, when they're all pretty much morally wrong. Yoshida is a grown man, and Sayu is a teenager. On paper, it's very weird for a teenager to live with a grown man that isn't family. But at the same time, Sayu has nowhere to go, no money, and her parents hate her. So if Yoshida never brought her to his house, she would have kept on sleeping with guys left and right to stay at their place. What would you say is the right decision? Letting her stay and getting her life back on track? Or letting her deal with it herself? Because it's her problem after all. Now, I know you could make the argument that he could have just called the cops or something, and that's a fair point. This anime doesn't try to make it seem like Yoshida is making the best decisions. He's just a guy trying his best, even if it puts him at risk. And this anime shows those potential possibilities. In episode 3, Sayu tries to seduce Yoshida because she felt like she hasn't been useful to him. All she's done is chores. And after Yoshida hung out with his coworker Mishima, she thought if they got together, she would have to find another place to stay. This moment is when we realize how all the guys she stayed with have treated her. She had sex with them to the point where she felt she was being useful, making her think that was the only thing she could do as a way to stay. But Yoshida lets her know she has done stuff for him. She's given him a reason to go home. He doesn't have to worry about chores, and with Sayu around, it makes his life more pleasant. There's nothing more to it than that. For Yoshida, he doesn't need anything special in return, showing that he's a nice person. His coworkers find out about Yoshida's situation, and they all give their own perspectives on it. His boss Goto lets him know the reality of this and that he could potentially get arrested. But after meeting Sayu and having a conversation of their own, she understands the whole situation and accepts it, knowing well that Yoshida wouldn't take advantage of Sayu or anything. I like that this story touches on those aspects, because it shows that Yoshida genuinely wants to take care of Sayu, but there's potential consequences due to it, making the story feel very real and not some degenerate unrealistic anime. Due to the stigma of animes having very weird plots involving brothers and sisters and romance with crazy age gaps, you'd think Higehiro would be just like one of those stories, but it's not. It's a well-crafted story that's about helping someone even though you could potentially get in trouble yourself. As the story goes on, we learn more about Sayu's past and what she's experienced while running away. When Sayu starts working at a part-time job, she runs into one of her co-workers who turns out to be one of the guys she slept with in the past, Yaguchi. After reuniting, he wants to catch up with Sayu and insisted on going to the place she's staying at, so they head to Yoshida's place and chat. But not after long, Yaguchi insists on having sex with her, even though she kept on saying no. But Yoshida comes in at the nick of time and kicks him out. After that whole ordeal, Sayu tells Yoshida that she slept with him many times, yet in that moment she felt scared, proving that she doesn't like what she's been doing and wishes she didn't have to have sex in order to find a place to stay. After living with Yoshida for a while, it gave her a reason to care about herself. And this is where we really start to understand Sayu. Throughout the story, all we know is that Sayu doesn't want to go home and looks at her body as the only useful thing about her. But the question is, why? What caused all of this? Well, we find out that answer, and it all started when she was in high school. Sayu never got along with her mother, making her not care about schoolwork or having friends, until she became friends with a girl called Yuko. But one day, she starts getting bullied heavily by a group, because one of the bullies likes a guy from the basketball team who Sayu rejected. And they won't bully Sayu for it because she's apparently pretty and Yuko's not. The bullying grew worse and worse, until it was too much for Yuko, causing her to take her own life. If that wasn't already enough, Sayu's mom asked Sayu if she was the one that killed Yuko, and that hurt Sayu deeply, hearing her own mother say something like that. which was the reason why she decided to run away from home. This moment shows why Sayu never valued herself, because she's felt like she was responsible for Yuko's death. So when you look back to when Sayu tried to seduce Yoshida, it all makes more sense now. She doesn't want to go through the painful process of losing someone again. And when your own mother tells you it's all your fault, it makes sense Sayu started developing the idea that she can only be useful through her body. This is why Yoshida's role is so important. He isn't trying to gain anything from taking care of her. He isn't trying to make himself feel good taking care of someone in need either. He just wants Sayu to live a normal life of a high schooler, becoming almost a father figure to her. His life has changed ever since she stepped into it, making his apartment feel like an actual home. And due to that care and affection, Sayu started developing feelings for Yoshida, because when she was at her lowest, he stepped in and provided her with comfort that no one had ever given her before. All the other men Sayu stayed with took advantage of her, but Yoshida was different. That's why I personally find the ending of the story very interesting. It implies the possibility of Yoshida and Sayu being together one day, but only after time has passed, and not as something she has to offer in return. That's why Higehiro isn't a romance anime. It's about healing from trauma, and the importance of care no matter what someone has gone through in their past. Throughout the anime, we've seen Yoshida be there for Sayu, and through that, Sayu was able to overcome her trauma and go back home. And that's why when Sayu went back home, it was an emotional moment, because she no longer needed him, yet the two still wanted to live together. But they knew it couldn't last forever. The two of them were no longer mere strangers. When Yoshida goes back to his apartment after Sayu left, he begins to cry, realizing how much he misses her, showing us that you never know how much someone means to you until they're gone. And that's why Higehiro is such an underrated anime. The plot may seem weird, but it's about facing your past and healing from trauma. Yoshida wasn't the one who fixed Sayu's life. He provided her with a place to stay temporarily. But during that time, Sayu realized what she had to do, and that was to go back home. So let me ask you again, would you let a high school girl stay at your place, even though it may cause yourself some problems? Thank you for watching. Keep watching anime, subscribe if you want to see more, and Adachi out.